In Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum becomes the presidential candidate for the Morena Party in the 2024 elections. Tropical Storm Lee has already become a Category 1 hurricane and is advancing towards the Lesser Antilles. And the leader of the military junta in Gabon announced the release of the deposed President Ali Bongo on Thursday. Hello from the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. In Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum was elected as the presidential candidate for the left-wing political party Morena for the 2024 elections. The president of the National Council of Morena, Alfonso Durazo, announced the results. Sheinbaum will have the responsibility to lead the way towards the 2024 elections. Claudia Sheinbaum won Morena's internal race with 39% of the votes. It will be the first time that a woman enters the race for the presidency of Mexico as a clear favorite. Sheinbaum has a political career of more than 20 years. The former foreign minister, Marcelo Ebrard, came in second place with 25.6% of the votes. In this regard, officials stated that the consultations met the standards of credibility, security, and transparency agreed with all participants. Sheinbaum reiterated that the party needs everyone, in a clear allusion to her colleague Marcelo Ebrard, and summoned everyone to the first working meeting of the national campaign on Thursday. We say in Mexico because there, the Supreme Court of Justice announced the decriminalization of abortion at the federal level, offering women the legal possibility of accessing free abortion services in public hospitals. The measure was taken after the filing of an injunction by the NGO Grupo de Información en Reproducción Elegida. Judicial authorities established that the medical personnel of any federal institution will not be criminalized for assisting someone who interrupts a pregnancy, since they will be providing a health service. Also, the Supreme Court called on the Congress to eliminate the crime of abortion from the Penal Code. In Colombia, social movements gather in the vicinity of the Attorney General's office to participate in a day in defense of life and peace. With this rally, the mobilized citizens will demand extraordinary guarantees for the physical integrity and reincorporation of the signatories of the peace agreement into the social and political processes in the country. The initiative is due to the continuous assassinations against the signatories that have not ceased throughout the country. This mobilization also seeks to show solidarity with the policy of total peace undertaken by the government of President Gustavo Petro, which has resulted in the dialogues with the National Liberation Army, as well as possible agreements with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. Social organizations in Panama protested against the contract signed between the government and the mining subsidiary of the transnational First Quantum. The protesters denounced that the agreement threatens the life of indigenous communities and the biodiversity of the eastern locality of Donoso in Colón, a territory located in the Mesoamerican Biological Corridor. The document establishes a renewable 20-year mining concession contract between the state and the subsidiary Minera Panamá for the exploitation of a large copper mine, which establishes a minimum income of $375 million. The contract was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of Justice. And precisely on Tuesday, security forces suppressed popular protests against the contract between the state and the mining company Panama. Protesters denounced the administration of President Laurentino Cortizo for prioritizing extractivism and environmental degradation, as well as for the high cost of living crisis and the worsening of labor conditions. On Wednesday, the Argentine President Alberto Fernandez signed a Decree 455, withdrawing the Order of May and the Order of the Liberator San Martin from Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet. The decision was announced at a press conference by the spokesperson of the Casa Rosada, Gabriela Cerruti, who stressed the importance of continuing the fight against denialism and for memory, truth, and justice. The measure comes 5 days before commemorating the 50th anniversary of the coup d'etat against the former Chilean President Salvador Allende, and when Argentina celebrates 4 decades of recovered democracy after the end of the last civil-military dictatorship in that country. The decree sets forth that Pinochet does not deserve the gratitude of the Argentine nation because he executed policies that subjugated life and degraded the human condition. Our colleagues Adriana Sibori and Luis Horacio Gutierrez keep touring Venezuela, finding stories that prove that when there is a will, there is a way. This time, let's know about the family enterprise that makes and sells cold chicha and have a faithful clientele that looks for a delicious way to cope with the Caribbean sun and the heat in Caracas streets. Here is more about this traditional beverage and of Carlos and Bedside story in the following material. Enjoy.
Breaking the ice. Then Carlos and his wife prepare every detail before leaving. This is boiled rice blended with milk. It's the base of the traditional Venezuelan chicha. Now they face a long way to set up their stall.
This business started when we were dating. I was 16 years old and he was 20, and we have been selling shisha for a long time. We had a break of 5 years because we left, but we came back stronger than ever. We both do it for our children and because of our children.
During that pause, they emigrated to Peru, looking for other opportunities. They also set up their business there. But selling a frozen beverage in cold weather was not convenient. And it was also difficult trying to fit in a place with few acquaintances. The decision was to come back, and they found a different situation.
A country where the market was already moving. There was trade. There was no longer that problem of queuing for 2 products. And well, I've started up the business again.
And they do have a public. Some are interested in their prices and others are just loyal customers.
Of course, here is where I come, the only one I drink. I don't drink it anywhere else. 100% good. And I could tell you because I am 75 and I've walked a lot. Get it?
The chicha is present in many Latin American countries, but the way it is prepared is different. This is chicha criolla, without fermentation. The hotter the day, the higher the sales.
Venezuelan shisha is very thick, very sweet, and it depends. Others sell it thicker, some add syrup or any other goodies they want to add. But I particularly go with the traditional, just cinnamon and condensed milk.
The indigenous people were the first to brew this type of popular drink, but with a corn base and alcohol.
Luis Horacio Gutierrez y Adriana Sibori, TeleSUR, Caracas.
You can find more episodes of our series Venezuela on the Move on YouTube and other platforms. Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find the news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. Tropical Storm Lee has already become a Category 1 hurricane and is advancing towards the Lesser Antilles. The United States National Hurricane Center warned that the storm surge generated by Lee, which will continue to strengthen, will reach the Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, and also Puerto Rico. The cyclone is currently registering maximum sustained winds of 120 kilometers per hour and is expected to increase and become an extremely dangerous hurricane by tomorrow, Friday. Lee, which formed this Tuesday in the Atlantic, is expected to become an extremely dangerous hurricane, also which formed in the a dangerous hurricane. The death toll from an extratropical cyclone that unleashed torrential rain and flooding in southern Brazil rose to at least 37 on Wednesday. According to local officials, the storm, which started on Monday, left whole neighborhoods submerged in floodwaters in the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, forcing some residents to climb onto the roofs and wait to be rescued. More than 5,300 people have been forced from their homes, and over 52,000 residents have 70 towns have been affected. The cyclone is the latest in a series of deadly weather disasters to hit Brazil, which experts said are likely being made worse by climate change. Weather specialists have warned that the situation could worsen, with more rain and forecast for late Wednesday and into Thursday, Brazil's Independence Day. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva said he had spoken with the governor and promised his administration's support. At least 14 people have died after torrential rains hit Turkey, Bulgaria and Greece in recent days. The recent period of extreme heat has given way to heavy storms, which turned the streets of northwestern Turkey into rivers and lashed Greece with unprecedented downpours as the country recovers from weeks of protest fires. Also, the latest death toll in Turkey is now 7, 2 of them in Istanbul, while one person is still missing in the Kırklareli province in the northwest of the country. In neighboring Bulgaria, at least 4 people died on Tuesday on the Black Sea coast. The victims were reportedly caught in the flash flood while crossing a bridge in their car. On Wednesday, the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan confirmed a major policy reversal by backing his new economic team's decision to drastically hike interest rates to fight runaway inflation. Erdogan has been a lifelong opponent of high borrowing costs and pushed past central bank governors to fight inflation with lower interest rates. Conventional economics says high interest rates help bring down prices by tamping down demand and raising the cost of doing business. The central bank has since roughly tripled its policy rate to 25%. Analysts believe it will need to raise the rate much higher at the next meeting on September 21st because the inflation has shot back up to nearly 60%.
We will definitely not compromise on economic growth during the program period. We will ensure healthy and quality growth by paving the way for high value-added investments and facilitating their financing. At the same time, with the support of tight monetary policy, we will reduce inflation to single digits again and improve the current account balance.
Let's move on to other topics. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken arrived in Kiev on Wednesday and met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The purpose of Blinken's visit was to assess the 3-month-long Ukrainian counteroffensive and to highlight the ongoing U.S. support as some Western allies expressed concern over Kiev's slow progress in expelling Russian forces, according to the U.S. officials. Blinken announced more than $1 billion in new U.S. funds for the Ukraine in the 18-month conflict. According to another administration official, in addition to military aid, Blinken also announced about $805 million in non-weapons aid to Ukraine. A recent poll published in the North American country shows that 55% of the U.S. citizens are opposed to the Joe Biden administration continuing to send funds to Ukraine for the ongoing conflict.
Empowering Ukraine to write its own future. In the crucible of President Putin's brutal and ongoing war, the United States and Ukraine have forged a partnership that is stronger than ever and growing every day. We will continue to stand by Ukraine's side, and today we're announcing new assistance totaling more than $1 billion in this common effort.
TeleSUR English launches its own videos on demand site for you to go and revisit our interviews, the top stories, the special broadcastings, and more. Just go to the top left corner in our website homepage and click on the video option to access our VOD platform. And now we will have a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. And there are important developments in Central Africa as the leader of the military junta in Gabon announced the release of the deposed President Ali Bongo on Thursday. General Brice Oligui Nguema, who heads the so-called Committee for the Transition and the Restoration of Institutions in the country, held a meeting with Faustin Archange, the President of the Central African Republic, who has been delegated by the Economic Community of Central African States as a facilitator of the political process. In the framework of this meeting, the release of the deposed president was decided for health reasons, and a roadmap was drafted to allow the return to constitutional order.
Given his state of health, former President of the Republic, Ali Bongo Ondimba, is free to move about. He may, if he wishes, travel abroad to undergo medical checkups.
An appeals court in Nigeria rejected 2 out of the 3 petitions on Wednesday to challenge the legitimacy of President Bola Tinubu's victory in the February election. The last petition is still under deliberation in a case that has put Africa's most populous country on the edge. 3 opposing parties challenged the election results, which they said was illegally announced, and argued that Tinubu was not qualified to run for president because he was a citizen of Guinea and allegedly did not have the required academic credentials. The opposition has hinted a possible protest if the court rules in his favor. If the judges uphold the last petition and annul the presidential election, it will be a first in Nigeria's history. And the 50th Extraordinary Congress of the Federation of Arab Entities in Latin American Countries, FERAB, closed on Wednesday, September the 6th, in Damascus, capital of Syria. More details in the following report from our correspondent Hisham Wanos. Let's see.
During the 3 days in September the 4th, the National Federations of FERAB, members of the Continental Mother Entity, developed in cooperation with the Syrian authorities a wide range of workshops during which the members of the Congress were able to learn firsthand the true version of the political, economic, commercial, industrial, social, tourist and cultural events in Syria, a reality that the members of the Congress promised to transmit to the brotherly peoples of the entire Latin American continent and to seek ways to help the Syrian people to overcome the consequences of the war and the coercive Western measures implemented against their country.
The interventions and proposals of the members of the Congress mainly seek to consolidate their link with their countries of origin and extend the bridges of contact between the motherland and the countries of emigration, where they reside, in order to build systems of cooperation and great relations in all areas for the benefit of our people and other peoples, especially in the economic and commercial sphere.
Despite terrorism and despite all the pressure on the Syrian people, we still have faith in a better future and continue to build on tourism, economy, education, and culture. And in this area, the members of the Congress expressed the interest of their communities to help based on their attachment to their roots.
The truth of what is happening here does not reach the world, and we are going to be the voice of the Syrian people to transmit all this information and really let the whole world know what is happening and that Syria is rising up, and that means that we need to reactivate trade and stop this cruel and inhumane blockade.
The Congress concluded with the presentation of a final declaration which, among its main recommendations, calls for respecting the sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity of Syria, finding a solution to the crisis based on compliance with the norms of international legality, putting an end to the foreign occupation of parts of Syrian soil, halting the U.S. plundering of Syrian natural resources, contributing to the recovery and reconstruction of the Arab country, and lifting the Western economic blockade unjustly imposed on the peoples of Syria, Cuba and Venezuela.
The organization of the 50th Arab Congress in Damascus and the final communique of this Congress show that Syria remains in their hearts, and although new generations of the descendants of Arabs in emigration have emerged, the strength of the attachment of these communities of Arab origin to their Syrian motherland is becoming stronger and stronger as time goes by.
The most important message is to show the world that Syria is not alone, that the countries of Latin America, its diaspora, its descendants, expatriates and immigrants also support it, that we want to help it to rise up and to get out of the difficulties it is facing and to give a message to the world about its reality.
The work agenda of the Congress also included cultural and recreational activities led by a musical gala of traditional Syrian songs at the historic Al-Azam Palace in the old city of Damascus, both to show the members of the FARAB delegation and the new generations of Arab descendants in Latin America the true civilized side of Syria and to consolidate the attachment of these communities to their roots in Syria and their other countries of origin in the Arab world.
Hisham Wannous, TeleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.